All right, finally getting rolling on this. I kind of got rolling this morning. I had a buddy come over, he's got a portable table saw, so he brought that over real quick this morning, and we ripped all my boards to match my beams, so we're gonna sandwich. So those are all cut, which is what all these cutoffs are. And then after that, I had to run to the bank, move some money to make sure I had enough to cover the check I wrote for all this. Does not seem like it should be $3,000 worth of lumber, but that's what it was. $3,000. Well, for lumber, little boxes of hardware I'd eat over there, that was $3,052. That just seems, lumber is stupid, and I don't understand why. And I literally just watched a video. I don't know why it popped. For some reason, you know, I'm getting old when a lot of my recommended YouTube videos are all news feeds. But I watched a video from some news outlet down south somewhere that they're shutting down lumber mills because the lumber market is crashing. I don't get it. So anyhow, I had to go to the bank to do that. Went and ran some errands. Had to go get a new blade for my skill saw because I can't remember what I was doing. It wasn't long after I got the saw because the blade was almost new. I knocked a bunch of the carbide off it. I figured for this I'd want a decent blade in there, so went to Lowe's because it was right down the road from the bank. Got a blade for it. It was the wrong blade because I thought it was a 6.5, not a 7 1/4. So I got the wrong DeWalt blade for it, which is fine because I wanted a Diablo, but Lowe's doesn't carry Diablo apparently. So got all the way back to find that out, and went to our local hardware store here in town and got a Diablo. And the reason I like Diablo blades is because that right there, Diablo, made in the USA. And they're just, in my humble, uneducated opinion, I think Diablo makes some of the best, like, cutting tools, like sawzall blades, skill saw blades, like Diablo. Especially their carbide tip sawzall blades. Those things are, I can't remember what the name they call them, but those things are monsters. So I got a Diablo blade, and I'll take that DeWalt back. It's ironic, Diablo 7 1/4 is only $1 more for a made in USA blade than a 6.5 made in Vietnam DeWalt. So anyhow, that's how the morning went. Now we're finally here. I know I don't have all the tools out here I'm going to need, but we'll drag them out as I need them. So we are going to start first with these. It's going to be a little interesting, or there's going to be a little bit of hocus pocus, because like here, there's this notch. They must have had to trim it to fit into the mortise in this beam, and obviously if you put this in there, you're only going to be sitting on like yay much. So I had thought about going and getting some good wood chisels and making this notch wider so that a 2x would fit in there, and a couple different scenarios in my head. And basically nothing you did as far as notching either this or notching the 2x and putting a step in it was going to make it friendly to get in, because I'm going to have to cut out down here because you want this sitting on the beam, not on the main floor beam. So you don't want this sitting on the floorboard. So I'm going to have to notch that out. So you'd have a notch at the bottom, a notch at the top, trying to get that thing fit in there without disassembling half the floor. So basically my workaround is we're going to cut this to fit down in the notch there and sit right here. And I bought a pack of shim shingles, and once I get them cut and fit and nailed in, I will just take some shim shingles and drive in from either side and shim that gap shut, and it should be good. But that one's going to need it. This one will probably be fine. That one's going to need it. I don't know if it's going to need it on both sides. That one's going to need it on both sides. So that's what we're going to do there. Oops, do not fall. I'm going to try to get all these in, get my LVL and everything assembled on that side, and I'm going to do everything on this side last because I want to leave these lights up as long as I possibly can for as much work as I can. And then we can go from there. So, but I'm going to keep these out of here. I'm going to get that corner cleaned out real quick, and then we can actually start working on moving this project ahead. Okay, we're gonna start with the easy ones first, which is gonna be these guys, and then I'll do the ones that are gonna take the fancy cutting to get around the braces and stuff last. But we have to cut out some of this floor. I'm gonna use my I always thought these oscillating tools were kind of a joke, and then I can't remember what I was doing, but I needed something for doing a little detail cuts like this. I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna buy one and we'll try it. These little things are awesome. Okay, will that fit in there? It should. I need something to use for a gauge. Actually, we'll just measure. Oh yeah, that should be plenty. That's a 2-inch slot. Okay, so now measure up. And there's nothing. You measure that height and cut to fit. Also needed a speed square because I didn't have one, so while I was at the hardware store getting a new blade, I bought a nice aluminum Swanson made in USA speed square. I'll give our local hardware store they carry the dumbish, like, stuff that you would never expect a local hardware store to sell. Oh yeah, we got that. And then they also do a really good job of carrying a lot of made in USA tools and stuff. I mean, they're do it best, so they sell all the cheapo do it best obligatory stuff they have to sell is do it best, but they also sell a lot of good brand name like made in USA stuff, and I'm glad they do because it's nice. Let's see. Now, hopefully it fits. Slide down in the hole, and I have to, do I trim it a little bit, or do I knock it in? I might have to trim it. I'll trim it a little bit. Okay, so we're moving on down the line. I got these 3 to put on. Those are done. I got these 3 to put on next. This beam is in the way from going from there to the bottom. These 2 have already been cut out on this. It's not really doing, I mean, I'm not saying it's not doing anything structurally, but it's all gusseted up there. You still got that wall. You still got both those. It's just going to be more user friendly overall as far as getting equipment in and out, and just get rid of this guy. So we got a little saw here. Okay, those are out. And you got to cut them out because since they're tendoned in, they set that beam, pin it in, have it here, set this beam up, and so the only way to get that out without cutting it is to disassemble the entire barn. So wonder what was tendoned in there, unless that was because there was no mortise on the bottom of those like they had little gussets, right? Yeah, there's no. Huh. And that being said, there was another one right here too. Unless they used to have something mortise down into the, but I don't know why they would have done that. There's not a second one in that beam. And then this one's got a mortise cut in it with no pinhole. Well, they never even finished that one. They just drilled that one in and never finished cutting it out, so they must have decided they didn't need that one. Interesting. So anyhow, now that that's out of the way, I can finish these 3 and then go into the ones that are going to be a pain. Okay, it takes a little bit of artistry, but this is what I came up with for these corner ones, so I'll have to do them 3 more like this, but hopefully that peg in that guy's a little loose. Okay, there's that. Okay, a little while later we got all of our support pieces put in. So in hindsight, what I should have done, although it would have made installation things a little bit more difficult, would have been to leave these long. So if they would have came out and met flush with this, it just would have made the corner look a little better. But of course, that being said, if I really wanted to, I've still got those pieces. I could rip some to fit and then just finish nail them in and square that corner off on that one, and it would at least make them look decent, but we'll see what I feel like when we make it that far. So anyhow, this guy is going to be next, and that is going to go right here and get lagged into this beam. Same thing, it's going to go down, sit on the floor. So first things first, I need to cut the floor out right there to get all the way down to our main beam that runs the length of the barn. Okay, we're down to, they've got a, and they did it here, every corner, because obviously on the main beam you've got your floor joists that are on top of it, so there's actually like yay much of a gap between the floorboards and the beam. So anywhere there's a beam where they were butting up against a post and they don't have overlap onto the beams themselves, they got like a rough sawn 4x6 laying on top of our 4x, it's a little bit bigger than a 4x4, it's not, might not be, but anyway, they got that laying across the beam, so they got something here to nail boards into. So that's what that is. So in order to get the height of my post, you can try measuring to the tops of the beams and figuring it that way. But the best thing to do is going to be to nail off a line from the top of that beam to the top of that beam, pull it taut, and strike a mark where it lands on this post, and then get your measurement that way so that you're running level all the way across. Or, well, it might not be level as far as like level to earth, but it will be level to the height of that to the height of that, so that you're running. So, because you can measure off of that beam, you can measure off of that beam, you could have differences in height, and then you got to try to figure it. So we're gonna do it that way. So I got to go get my string line and a couple nails. Well, I got a couple smaller nails than the 4-inch ring shanks I got, and we'll nail off a line, string it, and mark it. Okay, so I got my string line run across, and it's right down flush with the tops of the beams on both sides, which we want because when the LVLs go on, they're going to sit on top of the beams on both sides. So when we come up here, and Now we got a pencil mark right dead nuts on the line, so that will get us what we need for a measurement off of the floor. About 90 and 3/4. Yep, I like that. So we'll go with that. Although before I go any further, just so that because Dad and I came up with this plan, and you always consult the dad, I'm gonna see if he can run over real quick before I start cutting and lagging and all that, and just make sure I'm doing this right. Alright. Well, it's not much to show for the first day, but that was a lot of little piddly detail work. That should be the hard part. Well, take that back. The hard part's going to be setting the LVLs up, but we're going to do them. So there's 4 LVLs there. In order to get my load rating, you got to laminate 2 of them together. So 2 inch and 3/4 LVLs make 3.5, which is why I went with the 4x6 post. So set 1 LVL up there, run some nails in it to hold it to the wall. Set the other one up there, probably drive a couple nails in it to hold them together, and then they use these special LVL screw, right there. Use these special LVL screws. They're kind of a goofy thing, but they're it says right on the box, LVL screws, but they got a goofy tip on them, and like a couple different, like there's a shorter thread pitch to start, and then they go to a coarse thread pitch. They're kind of weird, but that's what you're supposed to use to put them together. So, and they said nothing about gluing them, which is good because glue could make things kind of difficult. But anyhow, so first things first, tomorrow we'll start by cutting my 2 LVLs, getting them set up there, get that side assembled, get the joist hangers laid out and all that, and go from there. But like I say, the detail work of cutting all the floor out and putting all these things in, I knew this was going to be time consuming, and with all the stuff I had to do this morning, I didn't get started till about 11 o'clock anyhow, so it was a short day to begin with. So tomorrow if tomorrow I can get bolt all the LVLs up and get all the floor joists in, that will be, I would consider that a good weekend. And then probably won't take much more than a night or two to sheet it. So, but we'll catch you guys tomorrow. All right, we're back. I got my first LVL cut to length. So now I gotta figure out the best course of action to get it up where it belongs. I mean, it's honestly not as heavy as it probably appears. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's also 30 feet long, so this could be interesting. But if I can get it set up on that corner and it'll stay, then I should be able to walk it up the ladder and set it up on that beam and push it back. But let's see what we can do here, hey? Trying to wrestle a pool noodle. No, stay standing up, you bitch. Here. Not that heavy until you get up on a ladder, and then it's heavy. Let's shove this end around further, closer to where it's gotta be. Okay. Okay, here's one side. Well, it's sitting on the beams. Just gotta take it in stages. I got it set up there, and I brought both ladders down here, and I got it set up on the little giant, and then didn't have enough room to stand with that sitting on top of there, so you set 2 ladders next to each other and you use 1 foot on one and 1 foot in, and then you set the beam up there. So now we can shove it back in the corner. It should fit. And then we gotta go get it sitting here on top of our post. And then stand it up, run a couple nails in it, and then cut the other one and put it up there. It's all downhill once we get number 2 up there. That's the hard part. Okay, let's see if I can repeat this without dying. So we take this ladder and we set it there. And then we take this and we set it there. And then we take this ladder and we set it there. Don't try that at home. I'm untrained, non-professional. Okay, so I got all my joist hangers on. I did that before I screwed the 2 LVLs together. That way, it's just my luck. Sure shit, I'd be going down through there and I'd end up having joist hangers that ended up with a nail hole right on top of a bolt head. So, did that first. You have to run a screw pattern when you do this. And I didn't actually lay a pattern out. I'm just eyeballing it. But basically, your pattern is you run 2 screws right up, right one above the other, 6 inches from the end. So one right on top, and then the rest of the way down the beam, you run 2 rows staggered to each other with the screws 16 inches on center, so top to bottom. So the spread from that to that is going to be 8 inches. So 2 rows, 16 inches scattered. And basically what I'm doing is top row, I'm running the screws in between every joist hanger, eyeballing it, so you're roughly 16 inches. And then the bottom row, I'm running right in between the 2 prongs of the joist hanger, so you're 16 inches there. So, and they take a special natural, I don't know why they have to do this. Luckily they send the bit with the box, but they take a special Torx bit with like a little nubbin, which is kind of nice. It gives you a real positive bite onto the screw, so you can run it in one-handed. But I don't know if you'll be able to see what I got going on here or not. But, and then this first little bit of the screw actually acts like a pre-drill, so it doesn't actually bite and start pulling itself in until it gets back here to the thread. It's kind of weird. It is all one of these little zip guns wants to run one of these things in, too. Okay, so that LVL is all assembled and ready to take joists. So now we got to do this side. This one's going to be a lot easier because they're short pieces, not complete freaking 30-foot beams. So these ones we can, well, I'm not gonna, I'll do the same thing. I'll put all my joist hangers on and then go ahead and screw them together. But these ones we can run a couple nails in to hold them together and set them up here in one piece. And it looks like I want 82 inches for this one. Okay, I got my 3 separate beams cut, and I got 8 nails there, 4 nails each holding together, 2 on each end. I took my lights and I moved them down to the bottom side of the beam. They can't stay like that because then they're too low and you hit stuff going. But once we get the loft made, I'm gonna do something different for lights anyhow, so it doesn't really matter. But anyhow, gonna set these up and then take some 4-inch ring shank pole barn spikes and just toenail them into the beam. So yeah, yep, that'll get it. Do. All right, this middle one here, it proved to be a little bit of a chore, because this beam was humped up in the center. It's got a twist in it, or it's got a bow in it. It's bowed out toward the outside of the barn in the center, and it's got a twist in it. So I kind of had to let that LVL kind of be what it would be as far as where it fell on the beam. And I had to start down at this side with bar clamps, and I bar clamped it, got it nailed in, worked my way down, and just kept clamping it and nailing it. I think just temporary to help hold it until we get everything framed in. I'm also going to cut some, or find some scrap 2x4s, cut some scrap 2x4s, and bridge the 2 beams together and screw them together in 2 or 3 or 4 places, whatever it feels like it needs, just to hold it. And then once I get the loft put together, we could take the braces off. But because I don't want to leave them clamps on there because they're kind of in the way. But anyhow, that's what kind of a chore this center one turned into. This has been a little time consuming, but we got it. All right, I think we've reached our stopping point for the day. It's 5:45, and if I want to get this video up tonight and blah 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 blah, it's probably a good place to stop. In the flow of video, it's probably a good place to stop anyhow, because that finishes up the framing, and tomorrow we can start laying joists and building the floor, or setting joists and building a floor. But all the LVLs are put on, or assembled, screwed together. Once I got all the screws put in and everything was pulled together where it was going to be, I went back through on the back side and toe-nailed from the back side, so it's toe-nailed front and back down there. Hangers are all half-nailed. I got that cleat right there. That's keeping that beam from trying to go to the moon, because when I started to pull the clamp off, it tried to move. I figured that actually worked better than going on the face here, so I think that cleat might end up having to be a permanent feature, because that LVL got 130 something odd years of drying and warping and twisting to get out of that beam, and it's probably not going to be a slow process for them to assimilate to each other. So I will probably end up making something a little nicer than just that hunk of 2x6 there. But so I'll have to reclamp, pull that thing, or figure out what I want to do, reclamp it, pull that off, put something more permanent there, and then clamp it all back, or put it all back together. But cross that bridge when we get to it. This works for assembly purposes. And I got 2 joists that basically landed right on, that one landed right on the edge of that post, and then that one all the way down on the end. It was actually splitting the beam in the post, but with beam being instead of the post, that doesn't work. So this last floor joist will be running about 1/4 inch askew. I could move that one, but probably destroy it trying to get the nails out anyhow. So which this side doesn't really matter anyway, because this last on that end, I'm gonna just have a 2x12 up against the sheeting and just toe-nail it into, because there's not enough room for a joist hanger, so just toe-nail it into the beam. It'll be into the LVL there, and the main beam, or the barn beam there. And then from there, everything's 16-inch centers all the way down. Well, then you have this little goofy, it's like 7 inches of free span. So rather than, it's already going to be enough of a pain trying to nail in or get the toenails in the joist hangers and stuff with 6.5, 7 inches to work with there. So rather than putting a 2x12 up against this, or all the way up against the sheeting on this, which I'd have to go get another one anyway, because I only ordered 23 and that would take 24. Rather than going and getting another one and making it too tight, I'm just going to cantilever the sheeting over the edge of this last floor joist, and it'll be fine. It's only going to have to self-support that far, and it's 3/4 inch sheeting, so it shouldn't really have any issues. When I built that loft over there, the way the joist worked out, I had to cantilever over that beam too, because the joist terminated into the beam. So at least I think I did. I don't think I notched the floor joist, did I? We can look, it's right here. I don't think I did. Yeah. Too much crap in the way. I did not. So yeah, that And it seems like I did that for a reason. It seems like to get enough length, I would have had to have gone to or added or got another 2 foot longer 2x12 and cut them. I think is the reason I ended up doing that. But that floor is just cantilevered over the edge too, so, and it ain't broke yet. But when I talking about the joist hangers, basically what I'm gonna have to do is set my joist in there, pull the hanger up tight, drive the toenails in, and then hammer this leg of the joist hanger around the edge of the beam and nail it like that, and same thing down there. But it should be fine. So but anyhow, that should set us up good for probably working after work with daylight and whatnot. Probably take me the rest of the week to finish this up. So, well, by the time I put the sheeting on, figure out what I want to do about lights. I might not get into the lights too far. I might just take those two, leave that outlet there, take them, spin them, run them the length of the joist, and leave them for now. Maybe, I don't know. Don't know if I want to get too far into adding outlets and stuff just yet. But anyhow, that can be a project for a later date. So I guess with that being said, that's it for this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one, which will be building floor.